Today we're going to have the first tasting of my Mr. Beer Northwest Pale Ale. Now this was a 2-gallon kit from Mr. Beer. I will put a link down below if you are going to buy anything from them. If you would use my code, I would greatly appreciate it if I could talk. So here is the card. I'll probably put a bigger picture up, but when you get the kit from them, this is the wrapping that's on the outside. You cut it down the middle or pull it away down the middle, and then on the back they give you all the instructions on how to brew this. Because this is liquid, this is really easy to follow. It's pretty much heating up water. Then as your water is heating up, if you put the can of liquid into hot water, it will help soften it. So when you pour it into the pan or the cooking vessel that you're using, it'll flow better. Mix it all up, then pretty much pour it in a fermenter, add water up until 2 gallons, and you're good. So very, very easy. So this one, now you do have to go to the Mr. Beer site and you can search through there and it'll tell you what the ABV should be. So I do have that information, but this one also came with like a booster pack, like to up the ABV. I didn't use it. I will use it on another one. But you do have the option to up it. The reason I didn't use it on this is supposed to be a pale ale. So lower ABV, maybe less tastes or something like that, less hoppiness. But I didn't use it because they called for this to be 5.5%. I'm like, what's the booster pack gonna do? It's probably sugar, some kind of sugar. Is it gonna up it to 6.5? I don't know. So that's why I didn't use it. So my original gravity was 1048. Finished gravity was 1012, which I bottled this on 2.3. No, I made this on 2.3 and then bottled it on 2.22, and I had 6.5 bricks, which if you use the bricks, you have to convert it. You have to use a calculator, online calculator. So mine came out to be 4.53% instead of the 5.5. Also on the Mr. Beer site, this said it's supposed to be 43 IBUs. So I'm a point lower. We'll see how this turns out. My guess is it's going to be overly sweet as it didn't attenuate all the way. And I can see that happening. I don't know what kind of yeast it is. It sits with all the rest of them, but I can say we had in my basement, everything stored in my basement, and we had a cold week. So I'm guessing the temperature dropped in the basement a little bit. So if that yeast stopped because it got too cold, I'm guessing that's what happened. So that's why I finished at 4.53%. And I can see some people getting frustrated if they do this and it's overly sweet because it's a pale ale. But we're going to open it and find out. So it says add 2 Mr. Beer carbonation tablets to each 25-ounce bottle. That's what I did. So this is probably, I think it said drink 2 weeks. Yeah, store bottles out of direct sunlight, temperature between 68 76, which it is now in the basement, for a minimum of 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, chill and enjoy. And so after 2 weeks, I did put this in the refrigerator, and here it is a month later, and I'm just now drinking it. So it's been in there for almost a month, I would say, 3 weeks in there. It is hard enough, and that's one way you can tell. If you're using these Mr. Beer bottles, you can press on it to see how much carbonation has, or that might be in the bottle. It's pretty hard, so I'm guessing it's ready. And that's the other thing. If you're using regular glass bottles, make sure you watch out because these Mr. Beer carbonation tablets are big, and 2 of them are for 25 ounces. So if you look at that, a regular glass bottle is 12 ounces, or a bomber is 22. So if you use 2 of those in a 22-ounce bottle, you might be overcarbed. You might want to smash one and just put a couple chunks in there. That's just one tip. So this is a reusable cap, so we'll see how much hiss comes out. I'm sure it's going to be fine because this thing, yeah, it's hard. I can press it in, but it's hard. Go ahead and pour it in here. See if we can get a little bit of a head on there. I'm going to go ahead and cap it. There we go. So head, light caramel in color, almost, I would say double IPA status for the head. Maybe even like a brown ale color on top of the head. It is dissipating. It's staying right now, but even right now, less than a quarter finger of head. Color, nice amber brown color. It is more brown up here, where down in here it's more orange, but that's just the glass. Lots and lots of bubbles coming up. These glasses are etched on the bottom, so it might be producing a little bit more bubbles than normal, but I think it's too dark. That's just me. But the color doesn't look like a pale ale. It looks too dark. More amber ale than a pale ale. I mean, just back here, because if I get it closer, because I'm not using it's a manual lens, I'm guessing it's gonna be fuzzy. But even looking at that, it looks more red than anything. But it's not. So let's go ahead and smell, because with how they make the liquid extract, the hops are in there. It's almost like they brew a beer and just keep boiling it, boil most of the water out. So the hops are already in there. Let's smell. Maltiness, definitely maltiness, but again, we are 1 point lower, so I do expect that out of this. Sweetness, there may be some citrus pine in there just a little bit, but that sweet malt really comes out. Smells like the extract when you warm it up, then open up the top. That's what it smells like. But it does have a touch of citrus, a touch of pine. I think that's fine. It's a pale ale. It shouldn't be blowing your face off. Let's go ahead and taste. Syrupy. Light syrup. Medium malt, like a Crystal 20, Crystal 40 malt. Like maybe you added too much Crystal 40, Crystal 20 to your recipe. That's kind of what I'm getting. Like it's not thin enough. Like the flavor's too much, but I am getting some bitterness at the back end. Between light and medium body, probably pushing medium. And I'm guessing it's just thicker because there's more sugar in there. So that's going to make the body thicker, sweeter. Where if you take out that sweetness, that sugar, it's going to lighten up the body. I almost want to say it's got a light caramel taste. Like through most of the palate, light caramel, a little bit of citrus, then some bitterness in the back. Is it bad? No, but for the style I think it's off. Too much malt. It almost drinks like a double IPA where you get that light syrup in there. That's what this has. Not balanced enough, but it's still drinkable. It's still a drinkable beer, but I can see somebody, if you are using the Mr. Beer for the first, second, third, fourth time, and it doesn't attenuate all the way, and you're used to pale ales, lighter beers, then you taste this, you're like, well, this didn't turn out, this didn't work. Well, it's probably because it didn't finish, especially if you took your numbers. My guess is most people using these kits are not taking gravity readings. They're just brewing it by those directions, because I don't believe, yeah, as far as I can tell, just looking at this, nothing on here says anything about taking a gravity rating, what the gravity rating should be. So yeah, if they're just doing exactly what this says, which that's what I did, it's just I took a gravity reading, and because it's lower, I know there's going to be more maltiness, sweetness in there, because the yeast didn't finish and eat the sugar. Yeah, definitely drinkable. Carbonation level's fine. It's just not a pale ale. It's too much double IPA. And I think it's almost like this is better on a fall day, or when we're done with winter going into spring, but it's still really cold, just because of that malt taste. I think it works out fine for that. But there is bitterness in there. It does. I would say, I was going to say 40. Yeah, 43 IBUs. The perceived bitterness is up there. So I think that part's fine. If anything, if this did turn out at 5.5 around there, I almost think there would be too much bitterness for the style of beer. Like the perceived bitterness, if that bitterness stayed, I would think it would be too much. You want lower bitterness. It's a pale ale. It's not an IPA. But yeah, for the most part, it's fine. I will keep on reviewing them. I think I have 4 or 5 of them. And I think it's going to be like the Diablo IPA. That malt is really going to start taking over. And it's going to get more malty and more malty. This one might go faster because there is more malt that was left in there. But we will see. If you brewed this, leave a comment down below and tell me what you think about it. Or if you brewed this and added hops or added other stuff to it, let me know what you did to it. Check some more videos out over here. And until next time, happy brewing.